From KFDX3 News, the spirit of Texoma, KFDX3 News at 10 starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Gwen Bevel. Doug has the night off. Wichita Falls detectives are investigating what could turn out to be the last homicide of 2009. Daryl Franklin takes us to Woodview Apartments in the 1600 block of 32nd Street.
Officers say a 911 call was made around 2:25 Tuesday afternoon, and after they arrived, 20-year-old Matthew Watley's family members began arriving as well. Officer Harold McClure says Watley was found shot at least once.
When we got here, police located a deceased male in one of the apartments, Matthew Watley. We have a couple of people that went down to the station. We can interview them, get some questions answered, and we have one person detained right now.
Officer McClure says that's because investigators aren't yet sure what they're dealing with.
We don't know if this was accidental. We don't know if it was just an outright homicide or if it was self-defense. We're not sure. Those are some of the questions we're looking at trying to get answered.
The ambulance pulled up and left because waiting for the police to come. And when the police got here, well, they went up there and you could see everybody come back down.
And this witness, for one, says watching everything unfold here at Woodview Apartments was unusual.
I've seen them bring a guy around the corner in handcuffs. Very unusual. This is a nice flat place.
But this, too, is a place where a 20-year-old man was shot and killed on Tuesday and hearts were broken.
I just want to know what happened.
A place where detectives are searching for any clues that will help them determine why. Daryl Franklin, KFDX3 News.
By 19, she was using designer drugs too, ecstasy, LSD, mushrooms. The prescriptions were easier to get her hands on and cheaper. She says for teen addicts, parents' medicine cabinets become a gold mine. Teens seem to know how the drugs will make them feel. Most don't understand the consequences.
They think that because they can get it legally through their doctors or someone else can, then so there's no big deal.
But it is a big deal. He says painkillers can do the same thing as heroin, but since they're in purer form, they do the damage a lot faster. And sometimes that damage is irreversible.
Simba Discotheque has been a hot spot for folks looking to listen to Spanish music. But early Thursday morning, it became the scene of a fast-moving fire. Art Ramirez is the owner of Simba's, and he says he was shocked to get a call that his club was on fire.
With some nearby residents listening and peeking out nervously, shadowy figures moved into position around a South Side house. For 3 hours, the SWAT team and hostage negotiators worked to communicate with the armed people inside.
This cast iron pipe was put into the ground in 1922 and was only taken out a few weeks ago because it started cracking. City officials fear that more pipes that were put in at the same time are also going to crack at an increasing rate.
Some concerned citizens say Wichita Falls should pattern its recycling program after the one here at Shepherd Air Force Base. Officials say last year the base recycled more than 4.6 million pounds of material like this. City leaders say they'll consult with the base, but that it's not a simple process.
If you're in Dallas, it's a lot easier to have this sort of program because you have a recycler in your backyard that will actually come and get your waste.
The bakers say the closer they got to Wichita Falls, the more difficult the drive became. That's why they were forced to detour to the Econo Lodge. But while they made it safely to the property, their car did not. The slipping and sliding continued Christmas morning, along with the shoveling, especially outside Chili's Bar and Grill in Wichita Falls. And it was all done to spice up Christmas for several hundred people.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Chili's officials decided to open their doors on Christmas Day to give instead of receive.
We're going to help rebuild that country, so it's a special mission. I would say for us to be able to be a part of.
The group expects to spend about 6 months in Haiti.
You can look at the images in books or on television, but when you actually meet someone who lived through the Holocaust and hear their story, it can have a whole new impact.
In today's world, we haven't really learned very much from the Holocaust. We've had other Holocausts. We still have racism, anti-Semitism.
For decades, Paul Kessler says he tried to forget the long months he spent hiding in a cramped hole.
I remember my mother telling me stories. I remember being hungry and cold.
Just waiting and wondering.
I knew we were in trouble, and we were waiting for the Americans to come and help us and save us.
By the time liberators arrived, it was too late for Kessler's father. After the war, Kessler went to Auschwitz and was handed a piece of paper documenting his father's death, June 10th, 1942.
For the first time in my life, I really felt his presence there. I felt like for the only time in my life, I was near him or with him.
Kessler says he cannot forgive the atrocities of the Holocaust, but he doesn't harbor hatred.
We are responsible for our actions. We have a God, but we have choices.
It's a message that resonated with this crowd.
The most dangerous thing isn't necessarily the aggressor, the person who's going to cause all of the hatred to start. It's the people around that allow it to continue. So inaction is the most dangerous thing.
It affects me deeply. It's hard to explain, but we just hope that we can put an end to it, maybe even in our lifetime.
Kessler says the tragedy of September 11th moved him to start sharing his story.
As many immigrants that came here a long time ago, I think we have a special love for this country. And we understand that though this country is not perfect and we are our faults, it's the best there is.
The gold and green colors shimmer on the water and the Iowa Park night comes to life. A multitude of angels stands ready to sound the trumpets. Hunting companions, working retrievers, first-rate pets, and they don't even mind if they end up in the doghouse. No wonder they're called man's best friend.
Give me your hands! Give me your hands! Show your hands! Give us your hands! Give me your hands! Oh.
With their colleagues looking on, one by one, they dropped.
So I want you to start walking.
No,
come on, come
yeah.
on, come on, come on.
Chewbacca!